welcome, and hopefully we'll have an interesting topic that will engage everyone and be educational, both in the material sense and in the spiritual sense. I'm going to go quite deep, so if you don't follow everything, don't worry, that's okay. Keep coming and you will learn more and more over the months, years, decades that you spend at Loft. I've been coming to these kind of things for 24 years now, so it's been great. All right, starting off. Who has applied for a job before in their life? Yeah, that's pretty much everyone. Has it been a pleasant experience? No, it's been. It's usually quite stressful, and I know in my material, when I'm not like chanting Hare Krishna and doing this, in my material occupation, I'm head of AI at 2 different software companies. Why I end up working at 2 different software companies at once? Yeah, I'm crazy. Talk to me over dinner, I'll explain how that happened. And if any of you happen to be any of those things, any of those developer roles, talk to me after. We could have a job for you. And if you're a Rust developer, you know you're a Rust developer, even if no one else knows what you're doing. Rust developer does not mean that you you make Rust by taking iron. It's a programming language. So yes, I've hired a lot of people. I've applied for a lot of jobs myself. Been on both sides. I'll explain from a hiring manager's point of view what it is that results in someone getting hired. Most jobs I list, about 100 people apply, and we pick one, and it's unbiased that one person is the best person. I'm almost 100% sure every time. So how that happens and how someone can get through that process successfully, and relate this to spiritual knowledge, yoga knowledge, ancient yoga knowledge of ancient India, that can also be thought of as a bit of a job application process for our lives. Now, if that sounds interesting, well, good. So, we will take this job application process and make it. This is the general job application process. 1, there's a job advert that explains the job, tries to attract applicants. 2, there's an interview process. And 3, there's questions from the candidate. Do you actually want to work here? Do you accept the offer, assuming you get an offer? And ultimately make a decision. Yes, I leave my current employment, or I leave whatever I'm doing right now, and I take this job. Similarly, in the spiritual process, there's you hear about the Loft one way or another. You come here, you listen to the talks, you experience the chanting, you have the food, you learn more, you talk to the various practitioners who've been coming here for some time, and you ask lots of questions, and you ultimately make a decision. Is this for me or something else? Not my thing. So we're going to take the job application process and make it ultra spiritual. All right, so with that 3-stage process, let's do a job advert for this brand of spiritual awareness that we have here at the Loft. A job advert needs to communicate some things. Whenever I write a job ad, it takes me about a week to get it right, because the job advert needs to explain what the job is concisely, needs to give you an idea of the salary we're going to pay you, give you an idea of the benefits that can be offered, the growth opportunities of working, because any job materially is a 2-way thing. You work for the company, but you also grow in skills, which makes you more employable, hopefully increasing your future salary, and the culture of the place. So, what the job in the spiritual sense is here at the Loft is to attain enlightenment, to break the cycle of reincarnation, to become one with Krishna in terms of goal and method, and ultimately to attain spiritual happiness. So, what the salary is for this is nicely explained by this analogy. Suppose your goal was to water a tree, and you take each leaf and you pour a little water on each leaf. That will not make the tree very happy. The tree will probably die eventually if you do that. But if you water the roots of the tree, of course, all the leaves will thrive. So similarly, we're said to be part of Krishna. We are all part of Krishna, individual parts and parcels of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we are usually, most people are striving for individual happiness. I'm going to be happy if I get the job at Narrative, for example. Or I'm going to be happy if I get the boyfriend, girlfriend. I'm going to be happy if, there's always an if. And if that thing happens to me, I'll be happy. Krishna consciousness, the process is not at all like that. Happiness comes indirectly. Happiness comes, I'm going to make Krishna happy. And because I'm part of Krishna, that will result in me, my own happiness increasing. So it's like watering the root of the tree. Rather than watering a leaf, we are all leaves of a greater whole, we water the root, and in that way, we attain non-material happiness, and so does everyone else. So that's the salary, that's what you get paid. Non-material happiness that comes through an indirect path for the roots of existence. So if that sounds pretty good as a salary, then that's what ultimately everyone wants to be happy, right? So path to spiritual happiness is the salary for attaining the job of Krishna consciousness. Okay, growth. To grow in a role, you in a material role, you need a goal. This is your job. This is what you need to achieve. Mentorship, a process for advancing, and examples that you can follow. Oh, that person has grown. I can see myself in doing the same thing. Same thing in spiritual life. You need a goal. One way of explaining the goal is to attain Satchit Ananda. Satchit and Ananda are Sanskrit words, and Sat means eternity, to attain eternal existence, not repeated birth and death. Chit means knowledge, to attain knowledge, to know anything that you want to know, wish to know, you can know. And to attain Ananda. Ananda means bliss, not just happiness, but bliss. So much overwhelming happiness. So yes, that's the goal. Mentorship. Research shows that if you have a mentor in your material job, your salary for the first 3 years stays the same, but then diverges, and people who have good mentors at work, their salary just keeps rising because the mentor has seen it. They can teach. In the beginning, it's much the same. You're just trying to figure out how to do the job, but to attain the higher positions, you really need a teacher who's been there and can guide you through the process. And what's the same in spiritual life, of course. Having a teacher or a mentor who has been practicing spirituality for some time is essential for attaining happiness and attaining the goal of Krishna consciousness. And you need a process, of course. Process in spiritual life is many things, but most importantly, chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. And we have beads, and any of the practitioners can show you. Who here is chanting on beads, by the way? Let's see. Half the room. Okay, it's popular. It's fantastic. So yes, it's a wonderful process. I do it every day. Many practitioners do it every day, and it's a nice meditation, clears the mind, frees the mind, as well as is the process to gradual attainment of the goal of Krishna consciousness. And finally, examples of progress. Here we turn to something like the Bhagavad Gita, which is the first spiritual text that everyone should read. And there explains, Krishna says that, again, I shall declare upon you this supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained the supreme perfection. So, chapter 14 of Bhagavad Gita is talking about the modes of nature. If you stay here, come here long enough, you'll hear a talk on the modes of nature. It's one of the main topics of understanding how the world works and being able to navigate the various influences that come our way in the world and successfully navigate through those complexities. So that knowledge of how to navigate through the complexities of the world is the knowledge by which all the sages have attained supreme perfection. So here's an example of knowledge. So many sages have attained perfection by studying this knowledge. So yes, Bhagavad Gita, very good source of knowledge and source of examples of attaining Krishna consciousness. All right. We have covered, going back, salary, benefits, growth, and, benefits, yes, benefits, almost forgot. What are the benefits of doing this? Benefits are, in a material job, tend to be things that you get, that the employer can throw in because it's either convenient or not too expensive and is something that you wouldn't ordinarily get by just using your salary and paying for it. A big employer might have medical insurance, for example, which they can buy in bulk from a provider, which costs them far less than it would if you were to buy it individually. Or you work for like Spark or something, you get a free mobile plan because it costs them nothing and they can just give it to you. So benefits are directly related to the company. Benefit at Narrative, for example, is you get free access to photography gear and photography software because we're making AI for photography. That's why you always see me taking photos around here, because it serves a dual purpose. One, I get to take photos and share them with people loft, but two, I get to use our software at work and get better at my job. So that's benefits. What are the benefits of Krishna consciousness, of experiencing this, of engaging in the spiritual path that we're all following here? Well, I would say that these benefits come as an automatic side effect without even really endeavoring for them, and are not the main goal of Krishna consciousness, but are a very welcome side effect. There's this book, Blue Zones, it's an older book, very popular, of a guy that studied the people that live the longest in the world. The individual regions of the world where there are the most people that live up to 100 and older. It's like Okinawa, Japan, Seventh-day Adventists in America, and a few others like that. So the benefits of Krishna consciousness nicely correlate with this. One is to move naturally, to have an active lifestyle, which tends to add 4 years on top of someone's life over someone that doesn't move a lot. Next, eating wisely, which is plant-based diet. Of course, any practitioner here easily becomes a vegetarian. That's like the first thing that as soon as you start practicing any kind of spiritual meditation, you easily become vegetarian. No problem at all. That gains you 8 years from numerous studies of people's diets throughout the world. Plant-based diet doesn't mean like vegan junk food. It means like proper vegan food, whole food. So 8 years above someone that is a voracious meat eater. Right outlook. Have a purpose in life. So many people are aimlessly wandering through life thinking, well, I work hard, I have some kind of relationship and that'll give me a purpose. No. Krishna consciousness has a super defined, super specific purpose in life that comes from all of the knowledge and wisdom that we study. So having this purpose in life and having a direction in life, another 4 years of extra life. And finally, connection, belonging to a group, having loved ones, feeling connected to something socially. That gains another 4 years of life in someone's lifespan. So someone that would ordinarily live up to 80, with these four things, lives up to 100. And that this researcher, Dan Butler, that was the conclusion of his research into these regions of the world where people routinely live up to 100 years. And Loft is quite new. No one here is 100. Is anyone 100 years old here? No. But there is every possibility that because of all of these things, all of these welcome side effects of practicing Krishna consciousness, people can have a long, fulfilling life, which is nice. And examples of all of these things, there is moving naturally by dancing voraciously in kirtan, in the music. There is, of course, plant-based diet. There is connection, so much connection with other practitioners here, and there is so much knowledge in all of the books that we study to explain the purpose of what we're doing. So, don't believe me? Experience it for yourself. All right, so with that, how does that sound as a spiritual job advert for Krishna consciousness? Sounds all right? Yeah, okay. Let's move on to the interview process. When I'm interviewing people for material jobs, I want to understand three things. Do you have the education that we need for doing this job? Do you have the skills and experience to do the job? And do you have the right attitude? Someone with the right attitude can learn, can work well within the company. Someone with the right education has the background when faced with an unknown problem to go, aha, I remember, I see where that's placed in my ontology of knowledge. Someone has a structure in their mind of how the field works and can place, okay, that problem is here. Therefore, I need to pull from this information. And then you need the actual skills and experience to do the work. So, three things combined. Every question I'll ask in an interview will be to try and gauge where people are at in these three areas. Spiritually, education. Bhagavad Gita, when it's describing itself, the book describes it, and the speaker of the book describes the knowledge gained in the book as this knowledge is the king of education, the best education. It is the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion, it is everlasting, and it is joyfully performed. I did a talk maybe a year ago that is Krishna consciousness a religion? And the answer is yes, and the answer is no, simultaneously. It's not a religion, it's perfection of religion, which means it doesn't require belief. It's a spiritual process that, unlike, say, material religions, doesn't require any kind of faith or belief. It's more like weightlifting than it is, say, Christianity, if you wanted to compare it to something. So you do the process, you get the result, rather than you believe. I believe in weightlifting. Yeah, it's not going to do anything for your muscles, right? So, the king of education, because this kind of knowledge will give you, is the most important education for attaining happiness in life. So yes, so much education in all of the books, so much theoretical knowledge of understanding the world, how it works. But that's not enough. Beyond education, there needs to be what's known in Sanskrit as Vigyan. Vigyan, realized knowledge. Gyan is education, material knowledge. You know how the world works. You've understood the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. That's great, fantastic. More important than Gyan, a natural conclusion of Gyan is Vigyan, someone that has done the work, experienced the knowledge, and is able to apply it in the world. I'll give some examples. Raman Krishna last week gave an amazing talk where he explained, unfortunately, how he had an intense fever and then was impressed, had to go to hospital, and was so impressed that the paramedics and the doctors were so calm because they had Vigyan. They've seen people, sick people so many times, they're super calm, they know what to do. That's an example of Vigyan. Medical degree is Gyan, but then you need to spend so much time practicing medicine to get a Vigyan. Another example. We read practically the first instruction in Bhagavad Gita is we are not the material body. We are a spiritual particle, spiritual consciousness. Not the body is just a machine, a covering of that spiritual consciousness. That's great. We can read this instruction so many times. But the Vigyan, the realization and practical application of that knowledge is becoming less and less interested in temporary material happiness. People are going, I'm going to have, just for sake of example, I'm going to have that cake because I want to feel happy in the moment. And some people are going, after enough spiritual education, you're like, it'll not make me that happy. I mean, it might be nice, but that's not the perfection of life, eating cake, right? There's more to life. And so Vigyan is the ability to then go, okay, I don't need the cake. I'm satisfied because I am so full in Krishna consciousness. Some more material examples because it's fun. I've got a degree in data science. So many people apply for jobs saying, yes, I just graduated. And I'm like, oh, well, unfortunately, while I would love to hire you, can you do vector quantization of a convolutional neural network? Do you even know what that is? Most people? No. Who knows what that is, by the way? Yeah, exactly. So no one. Yes, let alone do it, right? So you need Vigyan to be able to do the work. And this is why 100 people can apply and few people actually get the job. Or someone goes, I've watched lots of MMA fights on TV. Who's watched MMA fights before on TV? Come on, don't be shy. Yeah, a few people, right? But who here is a BJJ black belt? No, it takes Vigyan. It takes long hours in the gym practicing. Just watching something is not enough. I'll give you a fun video demonstrating this this principle. Just because I do BJJ and this is so true about the knowledge of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, martial art. I have the sound for this.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Judo. This is just kind of a demonstration as to what the Dangerous Damage program will do. I'm 6'1", about 245 pounds. You can see the size difference here. Monica's about 5'5", and probably 100 pounds soaking wet. But this is just to show you. The first time I rolled against her, she choked me out like 3 times in a row. And by the end of it, I was pissed, but I figured out why. I'm going to show you all at home why you should take this program. So, okay.
You're right. I did that before. Trying to feed things if you get 5 people in here for like 100 something. No, that's still truck already.
And there you go. There's nothing I can do to stop that.
Thank you.
Look, you're coming with
Love y'all.
They're going to go to another food.
Right. So, if you know how to do that, a huge guy who is like 50 kilograms heavier than you, then yes, you have Vigyan, you have realized knowledge of martial art. If you just watch it on TV, you're never going to get Vigyan. Yes, unplugging that just to eliminate some feedback. All right. We have covered education and Vigyan, skills and experience. Next, the last aspect of the interview process, spiritual interview process, is attitude. I always ask, why did you apply for the job? And in Bhagavad Gita, it explains that 4 types of people seek spiritual knowledge for 4 different reasons. And all of these are good reasons to seek spiritual knowledge. Some are better. The lower ones are better. But all of these are good. So not looking down onto anyone that seeks spiritual knowledge for any reason. The first is distress. In a material job, someone might be distressed in their current job, saying, I have a manager from hell and psychological trauma going to work. I want a new job. Fair enough. Fair enough. I was in that situation too in a previous job. So similarly, people are suffering in material life. So many people are suffering. So it breaks my heart how people are suffering in material life out there in the material world with so many pressures and sources of misery. And then they come to the loft, and there's great relief from that. You walk in here, and practically all your troubles melt away until you go back outside. But it's amazing. And that's a genuine reason to come practice spiritual life. Desiring money. Someone might come to a material job saying, yeah, I want the money. Why did you apply for the job? I want the money. You're like, oh, well, there should be another reason, right? There was a company, I won't say which it is, but there's a company in Auckland that used to pay hugely more than any other company for software developers. And so many people worked there just for the money, and the culture got destroyed in the company. And so many people quit because it was a hellish company to work for. So, desiring money. Some people come to spiritual life because they're in some material, they may be unemployed, or they're homeless and they need some shelter, which is nice. Some places, some spiritual ashrams can provide that shelter for people as a place, and that's a genuine reason to come and practice something. Not enough, but it's not enough of a reason to sustain someone, but as an initial entry, that's nice. Inquisitive, this was me. I was like 20 years ago when I first came across Krishna consciousness at university. I was like, what is this? I've never encountered anything like this before. This is interesting. Let me stay and learn. I want to know more. I'm curious. I don't believe in any of this stuff, and they tell me I don't have to believe in it, which is great. I definitely don't, but I will just keep doing it because it's interesting. And yes, definitely, that's a genuine path to attain spiritual life, and it worked for me. And finally, the best is someone searching for knowledge. Someone seeking to answer the big questions of life. Why am I here? What's my position in the universe? What's the meaning of life? Why is there death? Why is there suffering? Who am I? What am I made of? Those kind of questions. Someone seeking the answers and is unsatisfied with all the other avenues of answering those questions. Those questions really get answered with great satisfaction here at the Loft with the spiritual knowledge we teach. So, if someone is seeking spiritual knowledge, that's the best way, because spiritual knowledge is the gateway to enlightenment. But if anyone comes here for any of the other reasons, that's fantastic too. Great that you're here. If you recognize yourselves in any of these reasons, then great. Bhagavad Gita has predicted you. Okay. This is a little bit elaborate. This is one of my favorite interview questions that I ask people. And if you ever interview at one of the companies I work for, you know this is coming. Anyone know who this person is? Billionaire venture capitalist, investor, and he has given founding money to all of those companies that you see there and made billions with those investments. Anyone know who it is?
Is it Peter Thiel?
Yes, Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel. Interesting thing, Peter Thiel bought himself a New Zealand citizenship not long ago and spent $13 million building himself a survival bunker near Queenstown in case the world goes to hell, and he needs to come here and survive in the South Island while the rest of the world burns. So he's that kind of guy. So his favorite, and there's a biography of him called Contrarian. He always goes against the grain. So his favorite interview question is, what important truth do very few people agree with you on? So I asked this to people in the interviews, and pretty much everyone is completely stumped when I ask them, has never even thought of something like this. What do you believe that few people agree with you on? How do I even answer that? The reason why this is a good question that I like to ask people, it shows that if someone can answer this nicely, they're a free thinker, they're not a sheep, they're able to form their own opinions. Also tests original thinking. Are you able to come up with something independently that's not just parroting something that you've heard? And it tests if someone has the courage to say something in a job interview that they know will be unpopular, or know that will probably be unpopular, because in the job, you need to be able to say something unpopular that's true and change a company's direction. So this is an excellent question for testing this, and many people do really badly answering this question, believe me. What would you say? Do you have any idea what you'd say? You can tell me after. But what what I said when they asked me this question at my company, when they were interviewing me for the job, I said, consciousness is primary. And then explained, well, what does that mean? That means that consciousness is the reason we're all here. Consciousness is the original primeval thing in the universe. Because of our own spiritual consciousness and our own desires, the entire world and universe has manifested. It's consciousness that is the most powerful thing in the universe and the original thing. Everything moves because a consciousness, individual or Krishna's consciousness, desires, and that desire shapes kingdoms, shapes nations, shapes destinies, and shapes our future. And if we change that desire from material consciousness to spiritual consciousness, then our path through life changes. So consciousness is primary, and I believe this. Very few people believe this. And I can say I've experienced this also, which is the foundation of why I think this is true. And I explained something like this in my job interview, and they were like, what? But they were like, oh, never heard. That was certainly an original answer that they hadn't heard before, so well, they gave me the job. All right, job interview over. Now, time for questions from candidates. Time for questions to understand more about the job and to see, from everything you've heard, is this something that would work for you? The nature of questions, Bhagavad Gita again, explains both blind following and absurd inquiries, absurd questions are condemned. Don't be a blind follower, but don't ask ridiculous questions. Not only should one hear submissively from the spiritual teacher, but one must also get a clear understanding from them. So, listen and don't try and be antagonistic for the sake of it, but also make sure you fully understand, and any doubt, feel free to raise it. No problem. Any challenging question, that's nice, it shows you're thinking. So, here are some questions I have thought of that are relevant for a job application, but also relevant for spiritual life. Why this and not another job? What does success look like? What's the biggest challenge? What's the culture like? What's the first 90 days of practice? What if I'm not successful here? And is there a trial period? Yes, of course. Come and go as you want. Ultimately, though, we'll get to some of these questions if you like. But once the questions have been dealt with, the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, the spiritual knowledge has been spoken, and the final instruction from Krishna is the decision. Thus I have explained to you knowledge still more confidential. Deliberate on this fully, and then do what you wish to do. We very much value free will here. Everyone is free to explore Krishna consciousness fully, ask all the questions they want, and then decide. Is it for me? Yes or no? Everyone has the personal free will to make that decision, and it's actually one of the most important decisions that someone can freely make in their life. So, with that, would anyone like to ask any questions? And thank you very much. Krishnendu, sure.
That last point, does it have to be a all or nothing decision?
Well, that's kind of like the last 2 points all at once. Arjuna asked this in, yeah, does it have to be an all or nothing decision?
Can you try a little bit?
Yeah. It's usually the case that someone just integrates a little bit of Krishna consciousness into their life, as much as they want. And some people are happy with just a little bit and stay there. And other people want more. So one example is someone might try 5 minutes of meditation a day in the morning. It's fantastic. Helps make your mind clearer. Great. And some people are going, okay, that's enough. I'm gonna stick with that. Other people are going, this is so great. Can I get more? And yes, of course, there's so much more, and then you keep increasing. So yes, it's not an all or nothing. Definitely, it's try a little bit. If it works, great. Try more. And if it becomes too much, well, time to pull back a little bit. And ultimately, most people ask, "Oh, I need to balance between material and spiritual in my life," and they don't do anything spiritual at all. Give me a balance. I need a balance. No, a balance means 50% spiritual, 50% material, which is a nice balance. And of course, if people in different situations, if you want to sign up to be a monk, great, fantastic, but that's not for everyone. Some people work as head of AI at software companies and simultaneously practice spiritual life. So there's room for all different styles in spiritual life, yes. Any other questions? You can ask some of these or anything you like. Doesn't have to be one of these questions.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Why do you find not successful?
Oh, what if you're not successful? Yes, yes. Arjuna asks this to Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. So it's a very intelligent question. Thank you for asking it. He explains that even a little bit of advancement in Krishna consciousness sticks with you in your next, for many lifetimes. So I have seen personally, some people come into the loft and from day one they're like, this is it. And they are within days fully practicing Krishna consciousness, chanting like, meditating for an hour and a half a day, reading all the books for hours. And you're like, where did you come from? What planet did you drop in from? And it's because they have been doing this in the previous life and they're just restarting exactly where they left off. Other people struggle a little bit. It's a struggle to disentangle from material life and slowly integrate spiritual life because it's new to them, new to their consciousness. They've not seen it before. I was like that. It took me like 3 years to even begin to practice Krishna consciousness properly. So the unsuccessful spiritualist usually gets reborn in a nice situation in their next life where they can practice spiritual life from a nice platform. So there is no loss. Even a little bit of practice is to someone's eternal credit over lifetimes. Thank you. Yes, Shala, you had a question.
I was just wondering, because you're like, you pick up from a past life.
Yeah.
But why wasn't that person successful? Like, so let's say like you started practicing in a past life and you continue, so you just die and then you're like born as a human again, and will that just keep happening? Like, what makes someone successful? I don't think.
Yeah, what makes someone successful? Stopping the cycle. To stop the cycle of reincarnation, you really need no more material desires, which is a high standard to have. Most people here have some material desires, some spiritual desires, and it's kind of a balance. And it takes a concerted effort to have no material desires. But that's okay, because someone that practices some amount of spiritual life, even if they spend a whole lifetime and get distracted by something, that's fine, because they can pick it up again. And actually, a life on earth with a spiritual path is actually quite nice. So it's not like it's like a punishment. It's like you're gradually getting there. Some people rocket ship up into spiritual consciousness very fast. Other people need lifetimes. It's up to everyone's personal decision how they do that.
So people who practice like don't want to be born again.
Ultimately, you don't
Like,
need.
they want, like,
Yeah.
die. I mean, like after death, they just want to like not come back here.
They want to exist in a realm of pure consciousness, where everyone is pure consciousness and where there's no time and no material birth and death. So the material body made of gooey stuff doesn't exist. Everyone is pure consciousness. So that's the ultimate destination. But on the way there, to the example of the Blue Zone nice lifestyle, everyone can have a really nice life vacation in the material world while ultimately achieving that. And some people don't want that at all. And fine, okay. If you don't want that, at least have a nice material life. And if you even don't want that, sure, have a horrible material life if you want. Everyone has the free will to choose what they want. Yeah, thank you. Behind, checking up there. Yeah.
What makes you think you are spiritual? I mean, you have knowledge about
Yes.
spirituality, it's related to mind, and action to meditate is related to the body. So what makes you think you are spiritual? It's not a provocative question.
No. Thank you for the question. So, if I understand correctly, you're asking, well, I do these things, but what makes me think I am spiritual?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not fully spiritual, for sure. I have material desires, just like most people. I'm more spiritual than 20 years ago when I started, for sure, through the process. And I think that comes down to my material desires have gotten less over time, and I'm more attracted to the spiritual processes. It used to be that chanting was a real hard, like 5 minutes chanting, okay, that's enough. I can't take it anymore. Now I can happily chant for hours, and I'm like, oh, this is so nice. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, and so on. So I can see my own change of consciousness as I gradually, ever so gradually, get more spiritual. Thank you. All right, do you have some more questions? Yeah, check it.
What will the biggest challenge be?
Wow, thank you. Whatever made you ask that question? Well, the biggest challenge, there's lots of challenges that spiritual practitioners face as they progress. Initially, it's past friends and associates. They're asking, oh, "What's this crazy thing that you're doing?" It's like, well, and you don't really know. It seems good, but is it crazy? I don't know. Is it? But ultimately, it's our own mind that is the biggest challenge, where our own mind as again, everything's in Bhagavad Gita. Right? In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that the mind can be the best friend and the worst enemy. So if we can make the mind the best friend, spiritual practice is so easy. But if it's our worst enemy, it's the thing that's always hijacking us when we're trying to practice. So yeah, thank you. All right, yes.
You mentioned earlier that you had, well, thank you for the talk.
Okay. Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that you had an experience that had led you to become so strong in your belief that consciousness is the primary reality. Would you feel comfortable speaking into what that experience was about?
Oh, sure. I've explained this in a previous talk also. There was an episode where I have a chronic health condition, ulcerative colitis, which is inflammation of the digestion system, and I was first diagnosed with that when I was like 22, and it manifests in the way that I could not even drink water. My digestion system had completely shut down, and I was in excruciating pain. I got put in the hospital, and I didn't eat anything for 3 weeks as they tried to repair my digestion system. And if you don't eat something for 3 weeks, if you don't eat anything for 3 weeks, your body starts digesting itself. And so I was a skeleton at the end of that when my digestion restarted again. But I had the distinct realization that, oh, even though my body has been destroyed, my consciousness is exactly the same. And it's really, the body is completely temporary. The body could be destroyed at any moment, but the consciousness endures. So that was early in my spiritual life, a really formative experience. So even though it was not a pleasant experience, I'm actually grateful for that. Yeah, question there.
I was wondering, what are some of the reasons for following a plant-based diet?
Oh, why? Why follow a plant-based diet? Well, generally there's 3 reasons. One is like health, other is ethics, and the other is environmental. Meat production pollutes the planet in so many ways. Dirty water, resources being used, fertilizers and so on. And ethically, people don't want to be part of the cycle of karma, of causing killing of sentient living beings. And then health-wise, many studies show that plant-based diet is so much healthier than anything else. in the Blue Zone book, 8 years to one's life adds 8 years to one's lifespan. And so many people go, no, I don't believe it. I'd rather die than live for an extra 8 years. So, I mean, yeah, sure, everyone can have their own, everyone can make their own choices, but I would very much recommend a plant-based diet. And so many people think, yes, I know I want to be, I want a plant-based vegetarian or vegan diet, but it's so hard, I can't do it. I'm so attracted. I smell the smell of bacon and I'm like, oh, I want it, right? As I hear this so much. That's where the chanting, the spiritual process comes in. I was a meat eater like everyone else, and I started chanting just like 5 minutes a day, and I was like, I have no desire to eat meat anymore after 3 months. And I became vegetarian even without realizing it, practically. I was like, oh, I'm vegetarian now, oh well. It was so easy. So, thank you. Yes?
Great talk, by the way. You know how you mentioned earlier that if we lose our material desires, we'll become part of the super consciousness or the supreme consciousness?
Yeah.
If there's any unsettled karma, bad karma from past lives to this life, well, would someone need to take good steps or accumulate good karma so that they don't have to take a next life to settle that account?
Yeah, good question. So if you have some accumulated bad karma, you've done some horrible things in your past, do you need to do good karma activities to compensate for that?
Yes. And I mean, yes, it's important that there should be devotion to the Supreme Soul, but while someone is still able to do something, is it important that certain action should be done by the individual to kind of neutralize the bad karma?
Yeah, so this is a whole talk on the nature of karma, which I really don't have time to fully go into.
Workshops on karma in 2 weeks.
Ooh, Bedwasane is doing a workshop on karma in 2 weeks. Great. Please go to that. It'll be amazing. Bedwasane's a fantastic teacher. To give you something to briefly satisfy you, Krishna consciousness is a process of akarma, which is no karma, where you don't want to do good karma activities. You want to do activities, spiritual activities that accumulate no karma at all. And then gradually, just by living life, your good and bad karma burns away. So that's the process. To explain exactly how that works, Bedwasane's workshop in 2 weeks will be amazing. And I think we're out of time. So thank you everyone for your kind attention.